Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Elevating Us podcast, where we discuss how to enhance and excel your personal journey. As we wrap up transitioning between seasons, this week I am telling you guys about my personal story of how I was able to transition through the different chapters of my life thus far. So we're going to get right into it. And let me just say, child, life takes you on a whirlwind. Let me tell you, life can be a roller coaster of ups and downs, challenges, blessings, obstacles, everything in between. But it's all about how you view it. It's all about your viewpoint, how you look at your challenges, how you look at the failures and the obstacles that you endure. Now, this episode, y'all, I'm going to be truly transparent with y'all, okay? So when I was in college, I had no problem transitioning, starting new things, starting new careers, or, moving out the city and doing different things. I had no problems with that. Now, as I got older, so like after college, I wanted more stability. I wanted to start building and things like that. Now, with my building, with me wanting to be more stable in life, I didn't take into account the change of life. Okay, so what I mean by that is I didn't think ahead of time of how like I would have to adapt to new situations and new cities and things like that. Okay, so when the time came, it got a little challenging for me to one, accept that change is actually here knocking on my doorstep and it's happening now, and then two, it took me a little time to adjust, to navigate, like, okay, what do I do during this transition season? Like, how do I navigate through this change and this more so of like this in between period and then get into my next chapter. So what I mean by that, like for instance, I moved after being in the city for like 5-6 years. I ended up moving, changing cities. This is after college, and I was a little bit nervous about it because it was just like, I didn't want to move, but it was also like, what am I going to do about my career and living and everything in between? And I was just like, what do I do? But for me, I always pray about things first and I plan ahead. Like, I have to have X, Y, and Z mapped out before I make a big move. Now, we're going to pinpoint that because I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But when it came to me transitioning and changing cities, I made sure that I had a career. Okay, you can't go nowhere without making money. Well, you can, but for me, no. Anyway, I made sure that financially I was prepared. So I was saving up money for the move, and I ensured that I still had a job lined up, or I was able to continue my current job. At that time, luckily, I transitioned to a remote worker due to the pandemic. So I went full-time remote, so I was able to move. Okay. Now, let me just say, navigating through a new city, baby, it took me some time. First of all, I didn't know where to go. Like, things, whether you are going to a new city or whether you are going back to your hometown or a city that you're familiar with, things change. So sometimes you have to use the navigation. Y'all was using GPS left and right. And that was even like when I came to my hometown, I was still like, wait a minute, what's this? When did y'all get this? But anyway, so part of that navigation, following directions, I was using my GPS. But on the inside, I had to give myself time to adjust to my new norm. And so what that meant was, while I'm learning the new ways of this city, while I'm learning how to navigate my day-to-day tasks, whether that be being on a new time zone and having to get adjusted to the new time zone while working on a different time zone, because at that time I was working Central Standard Time, but I was living in Eastern Time, so it was a little bit of a challenge. So it just, you got to do what you got to do. So I was able to adjust after a while, but when it came to the hours of my job at that time, I did not like how it took majority of my day. So what did I do? I ended up looking for a new career, and that was a change in itself. At one point, I was changing careers, I moved cities, and y'all, I was trying to get my master's. When I tell you, it was too many new things at once. It was too many new pieces at once. And one thing about it, you have to be realistic with yourself. For me, there was a certain limit of new things that can happen at one time before I got like so overwhelmed to where I was dropping the ball. Okay, so with me, I ended up dropping the ball in school. Now, while I was making decent grades, it just became too stressful for me, and I had to put it to the side for a second. So I ended up putting a pause on my master's, and I navigated through the new city and transitioning with my job. So I was finally able to figure out a good daily routine for myself. I started to wake up a little early so that I can have more of the morning to myself and be able to get some of the tasks that I would initially do at the end of my day. I can do those in the morning so that I can have more time in the evening to decompress from the day and from work, and being able to just have wind down time and not have to rush to get to bed so that I can wake up and do it all over in the morning. Y'all, I started waking up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Huge adjustment for me. Let me just say, I was tired, I was sluggish, I was lagging. I was like, I'm ready to already get adjusted to this, because it was a struggle. Like, sometimes you just have to be like, okay, we're struggling today, but we're gonna make it through. Now listen, it's been a good amount of days of where I had some coffee early in the morning, or I'll have an energy drink. Now, I know that energy drinks aren't good for me, but hey, I just needed it as a startup to my day to get me started here and there. But once my body got adjusted to that 6 a.m., then it was like, okay, we're up, we're ready. And then on the weekends, I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning like, Kaylin, you supposed to sleep in. But, you know, it is what it is. But then it went to 5:30 and now 5 a.m. to where now I get my workouts in at 5:30 in the morning because I hit the gym. Then I'm able to have more time to get ready, transition, maybe do a few tasks before I start my work day. One thing that I had to really prioritize was giving myself the grace and the space to get adjusted to the new norms. Okay, so what I mean by that is I was rushing myself to go ahead and have it down packed. I'm like, Kaylin, you have got to get this right. Kaylin, you got to wake up. You got to do this. And it was like, at one point, I'm just like, I was my worst drill sergeant, y'all. Like, I was like, Kaylin, get it together. Get it together. But what I had to realize was I was in a season of transitioning. There was new pieces that was added to my life, and I had to learn how to give myself the time to adjust to that and to navigate through how my new daily schedule would be and actually be okay with it. So a few of the things that helped me was my support system, you know, talking it out with my therapist, my family, and my friends, and my mentor, and also doing that self-reflection for myself. So I would journal and write about, you know, my thoughts and how I felt. And by doing that, I was able to, one, express myself, but two, figure out like, okay, I have to give myself this time, and I have to stop living from a perfectionist mindset, because that's what it is. I'm trying to go ahead and get it right, get it perfect, get my daily schedule perfect so that I can have this like perfect little life of I'm doing X, Y, and Z all the time. And that's not how life is. Life is about transition. Life is about ups and downs. And with that, you have to give yourself the space and grace and acceptance to just adapt to where you are right now and work on building where you want to go. Now, one of my hardest seasons was when I had a car accident a few years ago. Y'all, I got rear-ended for the first time, and it took me through hell and high water, Baby, I can write a whole book on just that season alone, but I'm gonna summarize it for y'all. So I ended up having whiplash. I had back problems. I had shoulder problems for like a good year and a half. I went to physical therapy for about a year. It started off with 3 days a week, then 2 days a week, and then it went down to like once a week, I believe. You talk about trying times. I am a very independent person. Like I could not imagine being so dependent on my support system until that time came. I couldn't work for about 2 weeks, I think. My sister and my best friend, they had to come up because at that time I was living out of town. They had to come up to where I was and help me. And I was just like, this cannot be for real. But that's why I say get you a trusted, reliable, dependable support system who will help you in your time of need, and you do the same vice versa, because when something happens, whether that be good or bad, they're there for you and you are there for them. But that season took me through there mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and everything in between. I had never hit that level of rock bottom to where I had to start all the way over on a whole different level. And I remember so many nights and days of just being frustrated with myself because my body wouldn't allow me to act in its full capacity. I could not work out like I used to. I could not lift groceries and things like I used to do. I could not like do a lot of the things that I was so used to doing. And because of the headaches from that, I would get dizzy. I was forgetting things. I would have these massive headaches and migraines that literally sat me down. And I would get so frustrated with my body. And I'm just like, Kaylin, get it together. Like, it's been months. You should have it together already. So rushing myself and then coming to a realization of, you know what? All right, God. Because at this point, I don't know what to do. I'm doing the physical therapy. I am doing the home stretches and things. What else is there for me to do? I'm trying to work. I'm trying to, keep a bay with everything that I got going on. What do I do? So I did my self-journaling. I confided in my support system. I opened up about, what I was going through with my support system. But I had to really ask God, okay, you set me down. Why did you sit me down for this long? What are you trying to get me to realize in this season? And sometimes you have to just really sit back and have those thought-provoking questions to yourself and try to figure it out. Like, why are you going through what you're going through? What is the purpose of what you're going through? What is it that you need to learn in this season of your life? And I'll say I figured it out with time and still working on, taking care of myself. I ended up figuring it out and really finding a newfound purpose in that transitional stage. So it took me about a year to fully work and lift weights and start back exercising. It took me about a year. Lord have mercy. But that was my most trying time because for me, I couldn't work the way that I wanted to. I couldn't move the way that I wanted to. I couldn't. And I had to come to an acceptance of, okay, this is your sit down season. This is your challenging season. For me, what is it that I needed to grasp from that season so that I can carry it on to my breakthrough? But also, while I had that time, I was shifting my mindset. So instead of looking at it from a negative standpoint, I looked at it as, okay, while it's my sit down season, I need to figure out my next steps. I need to be very strategic of what I'm going to do in the next year, what I'm going to do in the next 2 years. Where do I plan to be? And what do I plan to implement now so that it can run smoother once my breakthrough happened? And for me, that was working on the next steps for my business and my career, working on what city I wanted to live in and how I would navigate through that next season. And then it was, okay, With school, what am I going to do about it? Well, once I get stable in this new city, then I would pick school back up to finish my master's. Y'all, you have to understand that with transition seasons, sometimes you're going to have to put down certain things, okay? But when I say that, I mean, for me, I had to put school aside for the time being so that I can navigate efficiently through the transition period. So when the time is right, I'll pick that back up. With that, you also have to rely on your support system. So it's like literally telling them, hey, y'all, I'm going through this big transition in my life. If y'all can, I need help with X, Y, and Z. Let me know if this works for you, and y'all map out a plan of what exactly that looks like to where they can help you so that you're not so overwhelmed in your transitional period or in your new season. Okay? I had always been a strong advocate for people going to therapy and working out how to cope with their past traumas and how to navigate with where they are now to get to where they want to be. I was always, telling people like, yeah, you should go to therapy. Therapy is good for you, everything in between. Now, when it came to me personally, I'm going to be honest, I knew that I needed therapy. I knew for me, there were some past traumas that was there that I had suppressed for so long that I needed to work on, and I wouldn't be able to truly thrive in my next season or in my next chapter until I was able to face those traumas and learn how to work through them. I wasn't ready. And that's simply put, I was scared and I wasn't ready. And I told my sister one day, I was like, I know that I need therapy, but I'm not ready for it, and I'm not ready to cry. But sometimes you have to just tell yourself, you know what? In order for me to be the best person that I can be and truly show up the way that I want to show up and succeed and thrive in life the way that I truly want to, I need to deal with this. So come hell or high water, I'm going to face this challenge. I'm going to face this obstacle, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to conquer it. And for me, I literally just had enough of just talking about it. And I had promised myself that once I was able to get myself together after that wreck, I promised to invest in myself, and not just the materialistic things, but I was going to invest in myself for long-term benefits. So I got me a personal trainer because I needed an accountability partner and help with my workouts, because after a while I would get bored and I'll stop going to the gym. I got a personal trainer and I got a therapist. And with that, I said, you know what? I spent money on X, Y, and Z that was materialistic. I can put aside some money to spend on this for the long-term benefit for myself. But I'm going to just take therapy one step at a time. If I cry, I cry. And y'all, I did not like crying, but it took me a few therapy sessions to where I had to understand and accept that, you know what, you done been through a lot and it's okay to cry. But it's okay to cry regardless, because it's a way of purging your emotions. Now, I can say with my therapy, I started off with it being twice a month, and I still do it twice a month. It's been about a year now, and I can truly see a change. But you have to make sure that you have the right therapist, because if you don't have that level of comfort with the therapist, then you're not going to open up, and it's basically going to be like you're wasting your money, because you're not going to do the work because you don't feel comfortable with that person. So make sure you have a good therapist and do the work. Like, understand that therapy does not work if you don't do the work. If you're going to be spending your money and your time on going to see or talk to a therapist, do the work behind it. Yes, the work can be challenging, but life is challenging. But it's all about how that plays an instrumental part in your big picture of where you want to be. Therapy does not have to last a lifetime. You can do what you need to do and get what you need in a few years or whatever the case may have you. But all I'm saying is I did therapy, and between my support system and me doing the work and going to therapy, I was able to learn coping mechanisms of how to give myself time, how to give myself the space to adapt to my new norms and be accepting of where I am in life, but also being motivated to where I want to be in life. And by putting those two things together, I was able to adapt to my new norms better, and I was able to grow and have a different type of acceptance and appreciation for my past, my current, and where I'm going. Okay, so that's just my personal story, y'all. I feel like that with the experiences that I have had thus far, I am forever grateful for it, because all your transitions, all your seasons and phases in life helps make up who you are and the strong individual that you are, okay? All I'm going to say is have an appreciation for your journey. Be able to give yourself the space, time, and grace to adapt and grow. Life is life. Live it to the best ability that you can, and just try. That's it. Like, just if you need to, take it one step at a time, take it 1 hour at a time. But for you to have an acceptance of who you are and a plan of where you want to be, that's all you need. Now, I hope y'all enjoyed my little story of how I was able to transition between my seasons. We will see you guys next week, where we will discuss June's topic. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys later.